Welcome, everybody. I am so excited because today I am going to be talking with two nurses from Canada, and they're going to be discussing their experiences with the lockdowns, with this whole year and how they're faring through. And we're going to start with Kristen Marie. She's been a nurse for 14 years and has spent more than half of her career as a neonatal ICU nurse. And I hear that because you've been speaking out, you just got suspended. Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah.
All right. Do you want to tell us about, what's going on?
That started kind of the pushback, but it's been, I guess, the last, since March, been really speaking up louder. And this past weekend, I spoke at 2 separate rallies in 2 different cities.
Wow.
So that really kind of pushed things over. Yeah. Open this up. Stand up to hypocrisy. If you don't, the hypocrites will teach. Stand up to ignorance, because if you don't, the ignorant will run free to spread ignorance like a disease. Stand up for the truth. If you don't stand up for all that is right, then understand that you're part of the reason that there's so much wrong in the world. Quote by Susie Kassem. And this is why we're standing up. I'm an RN as well as a registered holistic nutritionist. I have a background in both conventional medicine as well as holistic health. I understand both the science as well as the emotional, spiritual connection to the body. I was taught to be a critical thinker, to ask questions, and to be an advocate for health, but this means only if it follows the narrative. I look around and I don't see health. I see fear and illness. We have been told for so long our bodies are weak, that we're not good enough, to ignore our instincts and intuition. We are taught we need synthetic protection to make our bodies stronger. We've been taught to listen to someone else outside of our bodies to tell us what to do. For too long, we've been told to hand over our responsibility of our own bodies. This is not empowered health. This is not sovereignty. Too much time is spent researching illness and disease rather than prevention, true health, and optimal well-being. It focuses on practices that continues to fuel disease and deplete natural resources. If another way exists that promotes healing, sustainability, true health, well-being, community, love, and joy, then it is our responsibility to investigate, to make changes, and to change our focus. This is where we take back our power. We take back sovereignty. We take back responsibility of our own health and realize everything we need is within us. We take back our own health and our freedom to choose. This summer, we were on a hike. There was a sign that read, COVID hiking etiquette. It stated, give right away to those coming uphill and turn your back to them as they pass. I was with my family, our 2 boys, and I thought, what kind of world are our boys growing up in? I was always taught to lend a helping hand, to smile, to be kind to your neighbors, and now we're turning our backs on them? Our children are now being raised in fear. Fear of each other, fear of the world, fear of illness, viruses and germs, even the air we breathe. They're being taught to fear everything they touch and everything around us. As Randy Hillier mentioned, prolonged fear is terror and terror becomes trauma. The psychological damage being done is irreversible. This fear creates weakness and suppresses the immune system. This fear can also turn to anger and to hate. We are seeing it more and more as division amongst communities grow. This is not the world I envisioned for my boys to grow up in. We are made up of more bacteria and viruses in our microbiome and virome than human cells. If we continue to fear viruses and bacteria, we only fear ourselves. If we fear ourselves, we'll continue to fear everything around us, including each other. And this is disempowerment. We need more education around germ theory and terrain theory. Germs are not the villains and should not be feared. We need more education on the importance of whole foods, decreasing stress, sleep, avoiding sugar and processed foods, movement, mindset, and most importantly, connection, love, laughter, and joy. We need to allow our kids to be kids and to get dirty. We are not sterile beings, and trying to be only further decreases health and increases illness. But it seems the future of health is masks, gloves, sterile environments, isolation, staying home, no more social gatherings, and no more visits with friends and families, and a push for more synthetic drugs. As a nurse and a mother, I cannot stand idly back and watch the devastation this is having on people, our elderly, our children, our local businesses, and community. People are gravely suffering. We are removing sovereignty, and when we no longer have rights over our own bodies and our children's, we've lost everything. What is all this doing to our children? What is it teaching them? What future generation are we raising? Humans thrive on connection, interaction, and love. Our children not only thrive in this environment, it is essential for their growth, development, and their foundation. With so much fear that continues to grow in our community, turning into hate and anger, I urge you to not engage, to not fall prey to their ways. Keep your energy and vibrations high. Have grace and compassion. We cannot fight hate with hate. Instead, we need more love and kindness. Love will always trump. For our children's sake, we need to spread more love, forgiveness, and acceptance throughout our community, especially when it does not seem deserving. Fear creates disease. It does not prevent anyone from dying. It prevents us from living, and I want to live. This is the only way we can move forward and hope to dissipate some of this growing fear through love and grace. Because I know we can do better. I know we can all be example to the rest of the world. To grow our community, more hugs, smiles, laughter, joy, connection, and with community also comes security, safety, peace, well-being, which creates strong bodies and strong minds. We were craving community and human connection before the lockdowns. Now we are desperately grasping for it. Now we're also searching for something deeper. To quote Rudolf Steiner, in the future, children will be vaccinated with a substance which it will be possible to produce. And this will make them immune so that they do not develop so they do not develop foolish inclinations to the spirit. Foolish here, of course, in the eyes of the materialist. This was October 27th, 1917. I could stand here and continue to list facts, numbers, and evidence about PCR tests, cases, deaths, viruses, etc. But there comes a time when truth is just felt. You feel it deep in your being. The truth resonates. You see it in your children's eyes. You hear it in your loved ones' voices. It shakes you to your core, and you can no longer deny truth, right and wrong, good and evil. It becomes a part of you that you have to share. I invite you all to take a deep breath in. Exhale. Do you feel that? It's a deep connection to the natural world, the divine, to God. They want us to forget this connection. There is a poetic relationship as we exchange CO2 and O2 through breath with nature, trees. We are all interconnected. Breathe in. Exhale. Feel that connection. Bring it in. That is truth. That is your inner power going through your lungs, your heart, your limbs. Breathe deep. Feel the power burn within you. You have everything you need. And together we are even stronger. Together we can make change. It is our time to rise for ourselves, for our kids, for our future. Today, we are taking back our freedoms and our health. That's it. Well, thank you.
Wow. Wow.
Beautiful.
That was fantastic.
So amazing. And
Thank you.
spoke from your heart. You wrote that yourself.
Mhm.
And that's truth. That is truth. Thank you so much. Now, with you working in the neonatal ICU, initially, were they not allowing both parents to come in?
No, they weren't even allowing fathers into the OR for their wife's C-sections of the babies. So the mother was in there alone. Mm-hmm.
Alone, without a partner.
Yeah.
For the birth of her child.
Yeah, during the C-sections, yeah.
And then when could he come in, or she?
When I think he got to meet, or he or whoever the partner was, yeah, in the recovery room once the baby was born and everything was kind of the nurse would bring the baby into the.
So after the baby was born, so the partner couldn't even be there at the birth of the child, which is the most significant part of life, is the birth and the death. And people aren't there at the birth, and now people haven't been there when they're dying as well. So these are crimes.
Yeah.
These are crimes. And this is what made my blood boil when I was hearing these things, and I know there is nothing you could have done about it. So only in the neonatal ICU, when these poor little babies, probably preemies, right? A lot of them, only one parent. So those parents weren't even with each other. The baby's just born in the ICU, one parent.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine that.
No, it was awful. Mm-hmm.
Now, when they graduated after the ICU and they went to a regular floor. How did that work with the parents? Was it still one that you were aware of?
I think still one that I'm
I think
aware
so,
of.
yeah.
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 Wow.
Mhm.
All right.
Mhm.
All right. Well, you know, it's horrible. It's
Yeah.
horrible. It's
It is
just
horrible.
horrible.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Karen, let's hear from you. So you're an RN, you're a PhD, lactation consultant, childbirth educator. You've written a book. You're a psychotherapist.
Mm.
What has your experience been like in Canada?
Well, first I have to respond to the birth. I have several chapters, not just my book. To separate a mother from her family during birth not only affects the quality of the birth, but can affect her capacity to parent, can affect the experiences that child, that human will have for the rest of their lives. And what they're doing, separating, like I'm shaking here as I hear, I know those stories because my area and what I research and the courses I've taught are about trauma, birth trauma, adverse experiences for children that start early on. So I heard those stories. I'm hearing them right here now. My experience started with that, and I started seeing that there's a difference between me and some of my colleagues when I said, what do you mean a mother's going to wear a mask? The baby's in the same room, the mother's breathing, and the mother's going to wear a mask. We need her to have her expressions. We need the mother to be able to parent properly. We need the mother not to feel that she is a danger to that child, which is what happens when we have mother masking. So my experiences started off, I'm seeing that this goes against all of the research. I've been a nurse for nearly 40 years. So when I started off, it was new that fathers came in with moms, and then we had all this research and all this clinical experience. And so I'm seeing the importance of a father and then of the entire family, whoever the mother wants to be there. So that's how it started off, seeing that there's a difference between how I see this. It's not logical. I know a lot about the HPA axis because I taught a lot about stress and what happens. So when people are stressed, we actually cause heart attacks, cancer, autoimmune, reduce immunity, right? What they're doing here is they've been reducing immunity. What do you usually do when there's a virus? We enhance immunity. We say, go to the park, eat well, but we don't just tell them eat well. We tell them how to eat well, right? We convert the theory to practical information. This was not happening. Something that has really bothered me is getting repeated phone calls about friends and colleagues, parents who are left alone to die. This goes against everything that I internalized as a young nurse nearly 40 years ago. Letting people die alone. Of course, because they're alone, we might have caused death. I mean, again, we go back to the HPA axis. We understand what stress does. All of the research on loneliness. What happens when people are alone? They're more at risk for heart attacks. They don't heal. This is what's been happening. And one friend of mine who is a physician, and her father was a physician, gave me permission to tell her story of how her father was a very active man at the beginning of this crisis. He was out driving his car, giving lectures. He was a retired physician, but he was still lecturing about all different issues. He lived in a retirement home, and they all became very frightened in the retirement home, locked in his apartment. His cognitive status reducing, became sick. They told him it was just an ear infection, locking him in the room, went downhill, put in the hospital. No one is allowed to visit him except for 2 hours a day, and only one family member, and he passed away. And my friend said to me, and this was not someone who was very, she really went with all the procedures, never spoke against the medical system previously, said, my father died from COVID, not because, sorry, because of COVID, not from COVID, because of all the the measures. And when I think of what they have done and what they're doing and what our own organization is promoting, I think about the operation was successful, but the patient died. Because you know what? They have been successful in some areas at reducing the rate of infection. Big deal. You know, they've raised, if you've reduced the rate of infection, but you've caused illness, you haven't done anything. You've done nothing. Iatrogenic disease. And my area of interest now and what I'm writing about are ethical violations. I've always really loved ethics, and I write about ethics, and they have violated all four. They have violated autonomy, the right to self-determination, their obligation to provide valid, reliable, accurate, truthful information, beneficence. They have violated their right to Tristan was talking about the things that they should be doing, talking about health. That's what we're supposed to be doing. And we're supposed to be doing, always we do a multivariable benefit risk analysis. Is this going to enhance well-being? If it does, we do it. If it doesn't, we don't do it. And the next principle they violated, do no harm. Everybody knows about do no harm, but that's only one of the principles. Do no harm. Again, they should have done a multivariable, looking at what are determinants of health, what are risks to health, what other things are going on for people, developmental continuum, what are the milestones. They didn't do that. And justice, well, of course, harm was worse for certain people versus others. Harm, these measures that are supposed to be easy, we're all in it together. No, we're not. We don't even talk to each other on the street. That's another thing that I noticed. I live in an area where people used to talk. Nobody talks. We all hate each other. Stay home, be safe. How safe is it for people who live alone? It's not. How safe is it for children who are enduring abusive situations and there's no school to go to talk about it, to get help, finding out how safe, how comfortable, how just is this for people who don't have computers, or don't know how to use computers. So all of these rules, none of them based on logic, none of them based on good evidence-based practice, and nothing is ethical. That's part of my horrible experience with this. And very glad, Erin, I'm so glad that you're doing this, and then it's going to be on YouTube and people are going to hopefully begin to learn and open their eyes.
Important to hear from nurses.
Yeah.
We're the front lines. We are the messengers. We're the in-between of the patient and the doctor. We're the ones that are there. We are the eyes, the ears, we're everything. We are the front line. We are there. We need to be talking more. I don't know why more nurses aren't speaking out.
Well, essential.
Unethical not to speak out. We need to protect our patients, and we're not protecting our patients by letting them die alone. We're not protecting our patients by letting a child come into the world with one parent.
Yeah.
That is just, like they say, crimes against humanity. And I'm sorry I'm getting upset. I just can't stand it anymore. More nurses need to stand up and stand up for their patients. This is what we need to do. Enough is enough. We're going into a second lockdown. People are going to die. More people are going to die.
I know two people. Two people, one of whom I loved very much, who died of sudden heart attack. She was by chance a nurse. Not from COVID. The central role of nurses is advocacy. I learned that nearly 40 years ago. Where are the nurse advocates? Right. Go, read, learn, analyze.
Yes.
Look what happened to Kristen. Kristen, now what happened? Your job right now, you're suspended for speaking out against this craziness? You're actually suspended?
Yeah, not like that's not the official reason, but that's the
part of it.
Yeah, but they're not allowed to get me for my outside personal beliefs, but
Right.
yeah. But yeah, I mean, I know nurses are scared, but I know I speak to many of them, and I know they all.
But it goes beyond a job right now for me.
Then that's
This
why
is
I'm
about
not-
humanity, This
Like
is
you guys
what we went to nursing school for. This is who we are. We're
Yeah.
supposed to protect our patients.
Yes.
And if
Advocate,
we
yeah.
back down and don't say anything, we can't protect them. We're not protecting them. We're not doing them justice.
No,
We're
and when does it
causing them
end?
harm. And when is it going to end?
Yeah. Yeah.
But we only have 2 minutes left. I'm so sorry, guys. I wish we could continue this
I know.
conversation.
I want to hear more about Karen. I just love everything you just said. I was like,
I know.
yeah.
Same to you. Same to you.
No. Well, sorry, I got a little heated there for a minute.
No, it's a heated topic. We all need to get a little heated. More people need to get heated and rise up and stand up and speak up. Like, yes.
Because people
right.
are dying.
Yes.
Some of COVID, maybe because they're alone,
Right.
but people are dying from iatrogenic disease.
Yes.
We're causing it. These physicians are so I shouldn't say physicians, the administrators in the health agencies. I won't say some of the names here, but in Canada, some of our top people, I hope I'm still alive when this ends, and that they will be accountable, because accountability is also part of the ethical code. I hope that they will be held accountable for all of the deaths, illness, mental illness. You talk about trauma. I'm a psychotherapist, seeing lots of trauma, more OCD, more loneliness. This is terrible, and it's caused by human beings, and there's no reason for it.
Well, thank you very much. Let's just end on a good note. And what we can do as nurses, as we know, is to send love, light, and healing to our patients, to their families, to their friends, to our nations, and hold that healing and hold that love for them. Thank you so much, guys. I'm sorry we had to cut it a little short. Maybe we can do it again sometime.
Yes, please.
All right, well, stay strong.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you for what both of you are doing, and thank you, Erin, for this show. Thank you,
guys. Okay, have a good night.
Thanks.
As a nurse myself, I can understand how challenging this year has been. Nurses represent the power of the feminine, the power of your heart, compassionate nature, peace, the creative force that is within all things. Nurses know that a true healthcare system is one that patients are fully informed, can receive adequate, toxic, and non-invasive assistance in maintaining wellness and healing for body, mind, emotion, and spirit, and that healing is a lifelong journey into wellness. Separating family members was never something that was taught in nursing school. Quite the opposite. And as a nurse for many years, one can only imagine how traumatic this has been, not only for the patients, but for the nurses to go against their very nature and education. I truly hope more nurses will come forward and speak out against these horrific times.